Hey, it's Jack here. Today we're in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just off the strip, we're going to check out the National Atomic Testing Museum. National Atomic Testing Museum is located on Flamingo Rd, about a mile off the Las Vegas Strip. Inside, we're going to discover America's nuclear test site. Sign out front reminds us it's going to be a blast inside. We're going to experience science and history by the megaton. Now go into the museum entrance. On July 16, 1945, just before sunrise, the first atomic test took place. This successfully helped bring an end to World War II and plunged humanity into the nuclear age. Why race to the bomb? What if Hitler's Nazis developed the atomic bomb first? Albert Einstein warned FDR of the German research being done. Here's a copy of the letter that Albert Einstein wrote to President Roosevelt on August 2nd, 1939, 6 years before the atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima. They've got this interactive menu here that talks about the engineering, the science, and the daily life, the dropping the bombs. Let's see what the boom looks like. What enormous energy in atoms. Scientists discover the potential for enormous energy hidden within inside each atom. This discusses what makes up an atom, how they discovered splitting the atom, and a bunch of scientific stuff here about neutrons in the nucleus, the chain reaction, the domino effect that occurs. So the original bomb test was done in Los Alamos, New Mexico on July 16, 1945. They called it the Trinity Test site, and this shows the miles from the test point, the map of the fallout from the first nuclear test in Los Alamos, New Mexico. So this is the fallout level in hours after the detonation. And we can see this is 1 hour, 2 hours, all the way out to 16 hours. So it took 16 hours for the fallout to get from ground zero to just north of Las Vegas, New Mexico. This is a replica of that test gadget, as they called it, that was used at the Trinity testing site in Los Alamos, New Mexico on July 16th.
At ground zero, a 100-foot prefabricated steel tower opened up. It was braced for an electric winch to haul the...
Going around the gadget model, they've got photos that take you through the process of where they surveyed the site. They built a base camp, built a bunker. They prepared for the test. They brought the gadget out there. They did a dress rehearsal. They got ready for the fallout. They did a TNT explosion, picked things up gently, carried the core out, and that little thing right there is the core of the testing bomb. Here's the gadget arriving. They put the gadget together. They set it up on the shot tower. They armed the bomb. They got photography set up. They had their ground monitor set up. And they evaluated their results. Here's what the scorched desert looked like from their test. Shows these guys at the remains of the tower. It says it was like being at the bottom of the ocean of light. We were bathed in it from all directions. And this is from a physicist named Joan Hinton that was 25 miles away. In this cabinet they have trinitite, and trinitite is also known as atomsite or Alamogordo glass, and it's glassy residue left on the desert floor after the plutonium-based Trinity nuclear bomb test on July 16, 1945. Glass is primarily composed of sand quartz and was melted by the atomic blast. It is usually light green, is mildly radioactive but safe to handle. Artifact contains outdated language that may not be culturally sensitive. This artifact does not reflect the National Atomic Testing Museum's current viewpoint, but rather social attitudes and circumstances of the time period was created. This is from the Chicago Daily News on August 7th, 1945, which is a day after the bomb was dropped. This wall here, they have Operation Crossroads 75-year anniversary from July 1st, 1946 to July 24th, 1946. This was the testing done off of Bikini Island. They've got artist renditions of what this would look like with the explosions. They did this off Bikini Island to test Navy and the effects of what would occur in case of a catastrophic nuclear war. Took a look at the old warships and stuff. They put them out there and then they would blast and see what happened. On this wall are further artist renditions of the ships that were involved in the Bikini Island testing. This is an artist rendition watercolor of the USS Nevada. They painted it bright orange to help the B-29 bombers find the aim point. The ship survived both Able and Baker bombs, but due to contamination from the Baker bomb, they destructed her off the coast of Hawaii July 31st, 1948. An interesting story about USS Nevada. It survived Pearl Harbor, went on to an extensive career in World War II, and then was later sunk after the Bikini Island testing. This is a model of the USS Nevada of what she would look like during World War II. This is a picture of the Baker test underwater blast, 23 kilotons off the Bikini Island Atoll in July 23rd, 1946. The question asked is, what now? The world has changed. The Manhattan Project success helped end the war but plunged the humanity into the nuclear age. Here's Hiroshima after the bombing. People are celebrating the war ends. This goes on into the Cold War arms race, and it shows testing done by the Soviets. This is here in Nevada. Soldiers watch an atomic bomb test in Nevada. Baker Day at Bikini Atoll, July 25th, 1946. And this is taking us into the Nevada testing site. This is what the Nevada testing site looks like. And it says, why two testing sites? Well, there were radiological hazards experienced in 1945 with the Trinity in New Mexico, and they wanted to do more testing, so they picked Nevada to do the testing. This topographical map of the test site here in Nevada. Here's a map of Nevada. Las Vegas is down here. Here's Beatty, and the nuclear testing site was right between the two. This big area here. This is what an office would have looked like by the testing facility. We got pictures on the wall there of Morton salt tablets, old-time radio, Royal typewriter, a telephone, a GE walkie-talkie. Look at the size of that thing right there. And some binoculars, a phone. Totally dig this calendar from 1954, December 1954, Union Pacific Railroad calendar. They've got this projector here, 16 millimeter film projector, that looks like it's actually playing the film, but it's this modern day projector up here that's playing this film. Here is a 3D printed model of the Trinity gadget that we saw earlier in the museum. There it is. That would be the actual gadget getting loaded into the tower. Over here in this display case are products that are atomic or nuclear related. We can see some items back there. Atomic Energy, La Bamba Grande, that bottle there. Of course, we have the Atomic Fireball Candy. Here's Superboy, a comic book. And then they got Kicks, Atomic Bomb ring that you could get on the inside. They've got stamps over here. Here's an old Las Vegas postcard that says Pioneer Club. Atomic detonation shown was 75 miles in the distance. Here's another comic book called Atom Man. or Adam N, because they don't have the double M there. There's a fallout helmet, and here's other things for civil defense, armbands and so forth. Here's emergency drinking water, property of U.S. government. We got a tin here of survival crackers. Now back here is a case for the Atomic Energy Lab Gilbert U-238 that I had in another prior video. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video that shows that at a toy shop here in Las Vegas. Thing about the testing, they didn't know what they didn't know, so they were doing surface testing, atmospheric testing, below water testing. Here are pictures of those tests. Obviously they wanted to test away from populous areas. So here is a replica of the Genie unguided strategic air defense air-to-air rocket. The sign says this is the first and only nuclear-tipped air-to-air test rocket. Here is a 119.5-pound artillery projectile, could have a nuclear tip. This is a steel helmet with safety goggles from the atmospheric nuclear testing period 1945 to 1963. It is pretty beat up, dented up. This is what they called a Davy Crockett XM388 projectile. And they actually tested this out here in a desert in Nevada. Here they've got the Ground Zero Theater. This is what it would be like to be in a nuclear explosion. We come in, we've got all these red lights and cement lined walls like you'd be in a fallout shelter. We'll sit down here, see what this is all about.
Put on your goggles. Observers without goggles must face away from the blast. H minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The sharp wave will arrive shortly. Keep firm footing until wave passes.
Inside the theater there, it feels like you're getting shook from a nuclear blast. I did not expect the compressed air to blast me in the face like it did, so it kind of made me jump. But very cool to check out if you're ever out here. I advise going in there and checking that part of the exhibit out. Let's continue on and look at the rest of this museum. I want to make attention to this guy up here just hanging out. There's a mountain lion. So in 1963, there was a worldwide treaty signed that no more above ground testing would take place. All testing had to be done underground. And that's what this part of the museum is about, is the underground testing. And it shows the devices used to drill into the ground. This is, I'm probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, it's a Physio instrumentation package. And it was designed to absorb the jolt from the explosion. But that is the actual device, and we can see it right here in a picture, that was used. And here's a model of one of the underground testing sites. It's the tower, and they would drill down. Here's one of the drilling shafts that would drill down into the ground. This model here gives a better idea of what it would be. They drill down into the ground, and they do the nuclear explosion 800 to 2200 feet below the surface. Now talk about coming full circle. Last year I was up at the Carson City Railroad Museum, and I saw Jack Astor Western Railroad And I did not realize at that time that that railroad was for a nuclear testing site. And here is a model of that railroad used at the nuclear testing site. Nuclear emergency response. These guys show up at your house, you might be exposed. Nuclear weapons accident training. This is a nuclear emergency search team. This would be a device they would use. So we got a couple ways to go here. We can go to Stewards of the Land Gallery or the Silo Theater. And we'll hit both of them. We'll go to our right. Silo Theater is this nuclear bomb. And they got a movie that plays that talks about it. Next part of the exhibit's called Stewards of the Land. Goes over the geological history of the Nevada test site. They've got core samples over here, and it shows how they obtain those core samples. Here are the craters of Yucca Flats. We've got this interactive exhibit, radioactivity around you. It says, try me, and it says, please do not touch. Probably a sign of the times. Basically, they have a Geiger counter over here that you could place over the top of an item, rotate this wheel around, and then you can check the radioactivity from that item. It's called radiation monitoring for underground tests. They've got all these devices here that they would check for radioactivity, as well as the personal items, personal devices that people would wear on themselves to monitor how exposed they've been to radiation. This talks about radioactive waste management, and they've got these exhibits that talk about how it's disposed and then restoring the environment. It's part of the museum that takes us back in time to where the early pioneers and explorers came to Nevada and moves us all the way up to today. On this wall they have indigenous people, which in this area was the Paiutes and Shoshones. They've got items over here, they say, from the early settlers to the miners and ranchers. This part of the museum is for the innovators. And right in front of us is this B-53 thermonuclear weapon. Look at the size of that. This wall is dedicated to the radiation effects research. This is an I-beam from the World Trade Center from the 9/11 attack. And like any exhibit museum, you exit through a gift shop. First thing we see are these metal signs, these brain boggler puzzles and other items. If you're into crushed pennies, they have the crushed penny machine here. Throw 50 cents in plus a penny and you can get your nuclear penny. We've got their apparel, their sweatshirts and so forth. And Area 51 reminding us to be aware of the humans. T-shirt that has a nuclear bomb exploding on the front of it. Or how about this one showing Fremont Street with a nuclear explosion in the background. Over here they have a vast assortment of magnets that have aliens and nuclear testing. And anybody that watches my videos knows that I collect these pins for places I go. And I found this one that'll be going home with me. If you're thirsty, they have various sodas. I haven't seen Bubble Up in years. But they got Lemonade, Spark Cola, and other flavors of soda pop. Who wouldn't enjoy having a stuffed tank to take home and lay on? If you've never tried the vanilla ice cream sandwich, I highly recommend it at least once. It is a bit dry, but the flavor is real good. And of course they have coffee mugs. And they have shot glasses. If you leave, don't forget to check out the Atomic Lounge and Gallery. Technology then and now, it's about technology. Here's a Macintosh Plus computer. daisy wheel impact printer.
Protecting our supply chains, sharing.
It's a Commodore 64. This is from the early 1980s, and this was the computer to have back then. We have Western Electric corded telephone. Here's an original VHS camera that had the big VCR that would attach to. And here's a replica of Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet. And just to think, at one time this was state of the art. This is all Sony equipment, Akai equipment. If you had this, you were the ultimate cool in your neighborhood. Here are products through the years, gaming systems, gaming consoles, and so forth. There's a Atari 2600. Over here is a Sony PlayStation, Blaster Mastery. Here's a Light Bright. 1967 pixel art. Back in the days of Windows 95, Mech Warrior 2 from Activision was the cool game to have. And it's a verbatim floppy disks. There's a pager right there, then brought us into the other devices. Here's Mac OS 8 CD, and who can forget the AOL discs that would arrive in your mail almost daily. Those were great. You could reformat them and use them as you want. I owned one of these. It's a Nintendo Game Boy. Here's an AudioVox portable DVD player, and there's a Sony Watchman. And you got the Walkman all the way down to the iPod. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video of me walking around the National Atomic Testing Museum here in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.